What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a viewer requested video. This comes from Miss Connie, who asked that I do a survival related video, including but not limited to fire making and or shelter building. Now today I figured I would start off smaller and I would practice my fire making skills, since it's been years since I've tried to make a fire without a lighter. So this should be an interesting video for me, and hopefully for you too. What do I have here? So I have my Tops Knives SurvTac 7. It's a Survival Tactical 7 survival knife. I have this. This will be my fuel for the fire. I'm gonna have to take the survival knife and use another piece of fuel to baton through it. This will be my baton. I also have kindling, bundle of sticks that I went and scavenged. Now, a good test to see if the sticks that you collect are good for kindling is the snap test. You take a piece of stick and you snap it. You listen for a good crunch. I don't know if you heard that or not, but if you get a good snap like that, that means it's nice and dry and it should ignite with no problem. And I also have a bundle of tinder. Now, I'm in Louisiana and it's morning time, so the dew is still lingering around on all this tinder. This is not completely dry, so I'm kind of worried about that. But it's been out in the sun. I picked it on the east side of the tree, so that means it's been in the sun the longest, so hopefully it's dried up. And I also have a ferrocerium rod and striker combination right here. On this side, you have the ferrocerium rod, and this side's the striker. And let me go ahead and demonstrate this real quick. Like that. I don't know if that caught on camera, but that's what I'm gonna be using to throw sparks. And hopefully we can get ourselves a fire. So let's get started. Going through a knot right now. You may think it's funny, but it's not. Now, this is why you want to have a really tough knife. If you're planning on batoning, make sure it's a full tang, a good steel like 1095 high carbon steel with a good heat treat from a reliable company like Tops Knives. You guys might hear some gunshots going off in the background. People are hunting, having a good time. It's a good day to be outside. It's in the high 40s. So what we're doing here is we're trying to get this stuff right here ready to make feather sticks with. And what they call it feather sticking, I just call it feathering. I don't like saying feather sticking, but what that is making small shavings of this oak here that when I throw a spark, it should ignite, and then we can get it to the tinder bundle and the kindling, and then finally we can ignite these larger pieces of wood, this fuel. If that doesn't work, then we can try and throw sparks directly on the tinder. But first I want to try to make some feather sticks, because these usually you can get them to catch some sparks. So I think that'll be a good test. We'll try this, and if not, then we'll move on to the tinder bundle. Now this knife, the ServTac 7, is pretty notorious for making terrible feather sticks. It's more of a batoning knife, which is why I brought it out here, but there are much better knives to make feather sticks. So what we're trying to do is make these nice curls on the oak with the edge of the knife. And as you make a new curl, you want to keep moving the blade to the side, because you create these sharp ridges on the wood, and it's those sharp ridges that make the curls. Now this will be good to catch a spark, hopefully. But like I said earlier in the video, if we can't make this feather stick catch a spark, we can always go down to the tinder. But this is just in case you don't have access to dry tinder, which we might not be able to use, because like I said, the dew point is pretty high in Louisiana. But this knife is notorious for making pretty terrible feather sticks. And so am I. Like I said, it's been years. It's probably been about 5 or 6 years since I've tried to do this. So we're getting close to the point where we're gonna wanna try and throw some sparks on this. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna make a few more curls here, hopefully without ruining my feather stick. Then we're gonna start getting the tinder bundle together. We're gonna get our kindling ready. And we're gonna try to light a fire, ladies and gentlemen. So this is what we ended up with. We're gonna try and get this on fire. So let's start the prep. So here, I've got my feather sticks, and I've got my tinder bundle, which to the touch does feel kind of damp. So I also have my ferro rod and my striker here. I'm gonna try and throw some sparks onto this feather stick. I've seen better feather sticks, I've seen worse. So we'll see what happens. If this doesn't work, I have backup plans. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you already, I'm about to do something that's highly controversial, and it's gonna piss a lot of people off. But when in doubt, I used the edge of my knife to strike the ferro rod, because the striker kind of sucks. So that's some smoldering happening. All right, we got a fire. See if we can keep it going. Ow. Ow. All right, kindling. Put some small twigs on there. Small twigs. Some more pine needles. More pine needles. Small twigs. Start feeding the fire slowly with smaller stuff. Smaller stuff. All right, guys. I know what I did is kind of taboo in the survival community, using the blade instead of the striker to make a fire. But you're gonna have to make some tough decisions. And if you carry around a knife sharpener like I do, it's built into the sheath of the ServTac 7. I mean, the choice is easy for me. I am going to choose to temporarily dull my knife. It's been years since I've done this. The survival community is kind of crazy. There's a lot of false information out there, a lot of keyboard warriors, and a lot of just toxic people. So I got away from doing stuff like this. I'm no expert, never claimed to be an expert. But like I said, this was a viewer requested video for Miss Connie. I'm also gonna go into more depth about what else I carry on me at all times, in case I'm unable to get a fire started. All right, you guys, like I said, I know what I did with the knife and the fire still is highly controversial in the survival community, but it's what I do. When I can't get a fire lit with the striker, of course, you could use a 90-degree spine on a knife, but that particular knife that I have has a saw back. And yes, it is possible to strike the fire steel on the saw back, but it's just not quick. It's pretty slow. It's a slow, arduous process. So I could be fake. I could get on here and I could tell you that I use the spine of the knife or I use the striker, but as I was throwing sparks with that striker, I remembered in my head, I'm like, this is not what you do. You use the blade. So make sure you carry around a sharpener if you're going to use your knife like that. That's the best advice I can give you. Of course, it's preferable that you not use your blade to strike a ferro rod. I think it might mess with the heat treat because the sparks are so hot, and of course it does dull your blade, but you get a fire. Almost every single time I've used the blade of the knife on the ferro rod, I've gotten a fire. I cannot say the same thing about a striker. Now, as promised, I wanted to tell you about a couple of other things that I use as fail-safes in case I cannot get a fire started with the knife and the fire steel, or the ferrocerium rod. So I was carrying this the entire time that I was making the video. It's a little orange bag. It's branded Bear Grylls, but I've taken out most of the stuff that came with this and replaced it with my own stuff. So this is my little fire making bag. I have something similar that I carry everywhere I go. But for this particular video, I figured I would make it look a little nicer. Mine is not nice looking like this. So it's bright orange, so that if you need to make a fire, it catches your eye. And if you drop it on the ground somewhere, it's easy to find. Now let's take a little look inside of this fire bag that I made. So you open it up. There are some things that are loose in here, like some rope, some string. This is in case you'd have to make anything crazy, like a bow drill or something like that, which I'm not good at, but I do have a little instructional booklet in here too that shows you how to make those kinds of things. So I guess in a pinch I could read it and try and figure it out. That is a life goal of mine. I do want to one day be able to make very primitive fire, like from a fire saw or a bow drill. But inside, I keep the stuff that I don't want to get wet sealed tightly in this high quality Ziploc bag. This is some tough stuff. It's thick. It's not like the cheap Ziplocs that you get from Walmart. And like I said, I have some other stuff in here that's loose. Let's see what else I have. I have that guide that I was telling you about, also written by Bear Grylls, which I know is also a highly controversial figure in the survival community, but that's not what I'm here for. And then there's a whistle. So I guess the idea of this is if you're yelling for help, eventually your voice is going to go out. But if you... Whoa, fuck. that was really loud. That was the first time I ever used that. Wow. Yeah. So the idea is that you could blow the whistle longer than you could yell for help. And you could do SOS patterns and stuff like that as you traverse through the wilderness. And you can also use the whistle just to let dangerous game know that you're around. I covered this kind of in the last video about protecting yourself from dangerous game like bears, hogs, and stuff like that. So you could blow the whistle to make extra noise just so you don't accidentally startle something like a grizzly, Kodiak, polar bear, or even like a group of hogs. So I want to show you a couple of things that are in here. So right off the bat, you can see the strange looking lighter. It's not a Zippo, as you might be able to tell. Get this open. So let's start with that, since that's like I think the most interesting thing in here. This is something that's going to require a little bit of maintenance. But this here, let's see if I can get this on camera. This is a Tesla lighter. So this runs off of electricity. Now the wind is doing a terrible job of showing it on camera. Anyway, this runs off a battery, which I think is interesting because you never have to worry about the fuel evaporating. And if you drive somewhere, most people have car chargers, and this uses a little charger at the bottom. So you hook your cable up here and you can charge it. So anyway, moving along, the Tesla lighter will be able to assist you to use other items in this pack in case you cannot light a fire with your fire steel and your striker. So in here I have some weatherproof matches that come with the striker on the side, but I also have just some regular matches in here too. You would go through these before you would go to the weatherproof matches, right? Of course, why wouldn't you? These are easier to get and they're cheaper. And you would save the other ones for a harsher climate, harsher condition. But if you had to, you can move on to the weatherproof matches, but also have some cotton ball, and that could substitute the tinder. So a while ago I was telling you how my tinder bundles, it was damp because it's early morning still here in Louisiana, and the dew just lingers. So when you pick your bundle of tinder, you want to pick it on the east side, the side that's faced the sun for the longest, but sometimes that's not quite enough. So having some tinder on you, like cotton, you can fray it, spread it out, and it really catches a flame or a spark really well. So regular matches, weatherproof matches, cotton balls. All right guys, moving right along inside of this here goodie bag, fire making goodie bag, I have a backup steel. A backup fire steel. This is also branded Bear Grylls. This is one of the things that actually came in the pack that I found useful. This is a backup. You can never have enough fire making materials when you're camping. Trust me. 2 is 1, 1 is none, and really sometimes I feel like 2 is none. So this is just another fire steel. I have a cheap blade. And some people can argue, well, hey, if you have this on you at all times, right, why not use the blade of the cheap knife instead of the blade of your survival knife if you're hell-bent on using a blade instead of a fire striker? And to you, I say, touche. That is a very good point. But I try not to use anything in this bag if I don't have to. I try to leave this stuff alone, but I do like to every now and then just kind of take it apart and look at it and remind myself of what's in here, because if you have it with you and you forget that you have it with you, it doesn't do you any good. So moving right along in here, I have just 2 more items. I have a bundle of Kleenex tissue, again another form of tinder, and I have some Q-tips. Q-tips, cotton. Another form of tinder. Now, yes, there could be improvements in this bag. You could have things that contain petroleum products like Vaseline, chapstick. You can have alcohol swabs. You can have things that are more flammable. But for me, this is good. This is a good starter pack for sure. But I'd also say just make sure you bring some lighters, some matches, some lighter fluid. If you're planning on going camping, why not make it easier on yourself? Of course, it is good to practice these types of things like I just did here with the fire. I haven't done that in years. So it's good to brush back up on it. And I reminded myself as I was doing it that I did use the blade when I used to make fires like this, and I reminded myself of how exactly do I hold the knife when I make feather sticks. I reminded myself of just how important it is to have gloves when you're batoning. When you're hitting a piece of a slab of steel that's 1/4 inch thick, like my survival knife, with a piece of wood, and you're driving it through oak, that's a lot of shock that's transferred from the baton through the steel, so both your hands are taking a beating. So there were a couple things that I was reminded of while doing this. So I do want to thank you, Miss Connie, for requesting this video, because it actually was a good refresher for me, and hopefully it was a good refresher for you. I doubt that I taught anybody anything new. If I did, go ahead and hit that like button and that subscribe button. But hopefully, at the very least, if I didn't teach you anything new, I reminded you of things that you may have known, but perhaps forgotten. And last but not least, I do want to remind everybody that these skills are perishable skills, meaning that if you don't practice them, they go away. I just want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank Miss Connie for requesting the video, and make sure you guys like and subscribe, comment down below, tell me your favorite fire making techniques, and let me know what else you want to see that's outdoor related. One last thing, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to remind everybody to make sure you take some time out of your day to go outside, touch some grass, touch a tree, reconnect with Mother Nature. It does the body and the soul a lot of good. I got nothing else for you. Thank you for watching.